with now the 8th atmospheric river in just 16 days to make its way into the state of California. Likely a 9th a few days beyond today. And so here we are trying to get ahead of this. I was just down with the Bucket Brigade, talk about a spirited group of folks. You all know them well, doing sandbagging, and I love it. Just, you know, they're on demand. I got folks delivering sandbags all over the region. I love that spirit of community, and of course came from the ashes of that devastation 5 years ago. And that spirit, though, is alive and well, particularly down here, not just in South County, but North County, as we said, Guadalupe and elsewhere, that have been devastated recently. But also what happened 5 years ago, I think, is even more telling. It unveiled things that weren't necessarily getting the attention in terms of being crisis. People started realizing there was a lot of food insecurity down here. People started realizing those disparities, not just in relationship to emergency and the response to emergency, but those disparities persisted in between emergencies. And I think that was the spirit, perhaps more than any other, that came out of our little bit of time down there getting those sandbags filled. And so I want to just thank the community. I want to thank you for your pride and spirit. Thank you for having each other's back. There's no substitute for that. Thank you to the local leaders. We talk about the state's vision on any issue is realized at the local level. Localism is determinative in every way, shape, or form, but notably as it relates to emergency response, notably as it relates to issues that you experience, particularly here in this community, like evacuations. To the sheriff, thank you for your incredible work. Thank you for your collaborative spirit with the state and our Office of Emergency Personnel. Thank you to all the men and women in uniform, not just those that wear the badge, those that are represented here from our fire, both at the local level and the county level. They can regale you and all the incredible search and rescues, all the saves, lives that weren't lost because of their heroism. We've got search and rescue teams up and down the state. We had over 200 folks. In fact, we sent out 200 folks just to deal with the tragedy just up the road here, San Luis Obispo and the Paso Robles, and the loss of that 5-year-old, and someone who now has a 6-year-old, just had his birthday. That hits home. Any of us with kids understands that. We lost a 2-year-old as well. 19 deaths now recorded in the state of California, and we're not out of the woods, and I guess that's the point. That's why I'm here. It's why we've been up and down the state. We're going to see this through. We're going to follow through. By the way, we're going to come back. The cameras are gone. That's when the real work is done, to make sure we don't have to keep coming down under these emergency operations, to have a more sustainable mindset. You know, what is it about 23 people losing their lives and having 5 homes that are still on the map, if you look at Google Map here, the subdivision, that makes us think that we can walk away and do a little bit of work at patching and think this is something we don't have to revisit. So clearly we have to have a more sustainable mindset, and that's what also brings me down here, is to make that commitment to you, to be back and to make sure we're here in the long run. We've got remarkable partners, and I don't say that lightly. The senator and the assembly member. This year, $8.6 billion of state resources are going to infrastructure, drought, diversion, issues related to stormwater capture, groundwater replenishment, to update our systems that were designed 50 years ago for the 20th century. We don't live in the 20th century. As was stated, the hots are getting a lot hotter, dries are getting drier, and the wets are getting a lot wetter. These atmospheric rivers, a few years ago, no one had heard an atmospheric river. There was just some scientists down at Scripps saying, hey, you should pay attention to this thing that we've coined called atmospheric rivers. Someone referred to as a Pineapple Express, and we'd seen it expressed periodically, but never through a conveyor belt like we've experienced since December 26th. Never like this, except when you go back, and I go back to my notes when I was lieutenant governor and listened to that briefing with Governor Brown. This is exactly what they predicted. In every way, none of this is a surprise. So the question is, are we resilient enough? Do we have a mindset of resilience? Are we resourceful enough to be more creative so that we can thrive, not just survive, through this new reality? I should also say it's new in some ways and it's not new. The beauty of this place, demonstrably, is because of the violence, the weather, and Mother Nature going back millennia. it is that ferocity that's created so much of what we come to love about the state of California. So look, we're resourceful, we're rugged, we have grit, this community in particular, and we're here again mindful though that we need to quickly pivot in terms of our approach for hydrology, quickly pivot in terms of how we store water, how we replenish water, how we build our diversion systems, and how we protect the people that we serve in the state of California. I want to just add a few final points. We're expecting about 1 to 3 inches of rain, mild to heavy, throughout the state. What makes this storm series so unique is it's not isolated by any stretch of the imagination. Remember, California's size of 21 state populations combined. 21 state populations combined. We're dealing with scale that we've never dealt with. I'll be in the Central Valley again tomorrow. We were in the Central Coast yesterday, in the northern part of the state, the last few days. And that's why we have requested the major disaster declaration from the Biden administration. The president could not be more responsive, reaching out proactively. His chief of staff, FEMA director is in the state of California today assessing damage, was at our meeting, what we refer to as the SOC, today's State Operations Center, the UCG meeting this morning. She's out on the road assessing damage as well, which is a good sign, and we're grateful for that. We could not ask for more from our federal partners. And again, in closing, to supervisors, Mr. Mayor, to all the elected officials assembled, I couldn't ask for anything more in terms of local partnership. And that is where I'll end, with gratitude, respect for Mother Nature, all of you, and what you've been through and the stacking of stress that you're feeling, and ask you in closing just to use common sense. Be vigilant. If you have an intuitive feeling that something just ain't right about driving left versus right, don't do it. Just work through this weekend. There's a diversion up for a reason. Caltrans there with a sign for a reason. Law enforcement is saying what they're saying for a reason. And I hope, folks, I know how fatigued you all are. Hope you are, just maintain a little more vigilance over the course of the next weekend, and we'll get through this, and then we'll get back to the real work that needs to be done to make sure we can get through the next century and continue to enjoy the greatest state God has ever conceived, great state of California. With that, we're happy to answer any questions.
Governor?